Arts and culture have always been a part of my life. I was born and raised in a small community, Hondo. People call it Hondo, but Hondo means deep. Just 40 miles west of here, there was a deep creek that flows through there. My father was a World War II veteran, and he served in North Africa and Europe and other places, and was actually wounded in the war. And he was engaged to my mother. He came back, a decorated soldier. He received 5 Bronze Stars, and he asked my mom to the movies there in Hondo, to the movie house, and he wore his uniform. And he just served, and he sat downstairs. You know, it was a segregated theater. After a few minutes, they were asked to move, and he said, "I'm not going to move. I just serve my country, you know, and I'm going to stay here." So anyway, they brought the sheriff, and my dad decided not to make a scene, so him and my mom left. And it was at that moment, I mean, that he decided that they both decided that, like many other World War II veterans that came back from the war and found themselves confronted with, you know, racism and segregation, that that they were going to make change, you know, and that they were going to devote their lives to this change. So we grew up in that family, you know, myself and 3 sisters and a brother. When the Chicano movement came around, you know, in the 60s, when we were of that age, I mean, we already, you know, were part of all that. So myself and my brothers and my sisters always worked around, always worked for community, put community first, put justice first, you know, and arts and culture were always a part of that. I came and I never left, you know. So when Pedro was the first executive director, he retired from the Guadalupe, and we together, you know, moved NALAC out to a different space, just, you know, here in the West Side as well. NALAC has always been located on the West Side, the oldest Mexican-American community here in San Antonio. And then when he retired, the board selected me as the executive director. And I've been here since then, you know, and so I'm really, really passionate about arts and culture and about what they bring to community and how they're so integral to our everyday lives. And that we can't build community without arts and culture. You know, I deeply believe that. I lost my dad about a month before President Obama nominated me. And he was in the hospital very ill. And I whispered to him that I was being considered. And he looked at me, and, you know, in his eyes I could see his pride, and he said, "Am I going crazy? Is this true?" I said, "Yes." And he died about 3 days after I told him that, passed away. And so he wasn't able to be there when I received that honor, but I feel that he's with me all the time. About a year ago, I was at Americans for the Arts Advocacy Day, and since we're a sponsor, a national co-sponsor of that, of Arts Advocacy Day with Americans for the Arts, we went to the White House just for a briefing with folks from the Office of Public Engagement and others, you know, about how they're working with arts and arts education. And one of the speakers, Judith Canales, she was speaking, and she was from the Department of Agriculture, and she was talking about how there were, you know, she wanted to create opportunities for the Department of Agriculture to work in rural communities to really help advance, you know, culture and arts, and really help the communities strengthen themselves with arts and culture as part of it. And after she spoke, I went to introduce myself to her, and she said, she's originally from Texas, just also a small community west of San Antonio. I never knew her. but she said, I was in San Antonio and I read in the paper about your nomination, she said, and I was so proud. She said, and you're from Hondo. She said, is your dad Trinidad Lopez? And I said, yes, he was my dad. And so she said, if it hadn't been for him helping me in Medina County when I was running for a race as a state representative, she said, I wouldn't have gotten all the votes that I got. He said, but, you know, my dad and mom were very politically involved, as, you know, as a family. And so, I mean, it was just a moment for me a moment of great pride and emotion to know that my father's name had reached the White House. I really want to get back to rural communities. You know, I mean, the challenge is everywhere for the arts in general, for Latino arts specifically. But I think there's such a tremendous there's such a tremendous wealth of creativity and knowledge in rural communities, and I especially would like to work with the younger generation in those communities to really help strengthen communities by bringing more arts and culture opportunities into those communities. You know, I mean, they are, you know, wherever you are in a rural community. I mean, it's not only in Latino communities. It could be in Appalachia, it could be in the South, it could be on the reservations. Those opportunities are not there for artists, for the community, to really empower themselves and to really be able to understand and practice, have opportunities to see their traditions, have opportunities for children to learn their history and the richness of our heritage.